Today I fucked up by not understanding that a needle shot out of an airsoft gun is capable of passing through a Beanie Baby. This was not today, but many years ago when I was about 8 to 10 years old. So about 12 or so years ago our family lived in a house with a large backyard, a yard which me and my brother decided would be perfect for airsoft battles, to the chagrin of our parents. After a lengthy spell of heartfelt platitudes and oaths of safety they relented and purchased us safety gear and some low-end airsoft guns. After a few months we grew tired of this pastime and eventually the guns fell into disuse, thus they were left lying in wait on a shelf in our bedroom, until such a time as someone was sufficiently bored to pick it up and try a new experiment with it. That person was me. I had discovered my mom's pin cushion and noticed something about the heads of the yellow pins she used. They were about the same size and color as the airsoft pellets we used in our guns. Of course I had to investigate further, so I grabbed a pin, collected my face protection from the garage, safety first, duh, and retreated to my room to conduct my experiment. I will now quickly divert to my family's perspective, who were sitting in the living area my bedroom was adjacent to. They see me slink into my room but don't think much of it. About 30 seconds later they hear, carrot, pop, #R. I had decided to impale the head of a Beanie Baby I found on the floor by pressing the barrel against its head and pulling the trigger, not grasping the concept that a needle traveling at 250 plus FPS is more than capable of passing through an inch of stuffing and into the hand I was inexplicably holding it with. My dad rushes into the room and finds me with a Beanie Baby pinned to my index finger, the needle protruding about half an inch from the exact center of my index fingernail. I have no idea how it didn't hit bone, but I assume it passed barely over the top of it. Luckily my dad was able to pull it out quickly and all I needed was a band-aid due to the small size of the hole. Suffice it to say that was the end of airsoft for the next many years. Too long didn't read. I decided to impale the head of a Beanie Baby I found on the floor by pressing the barrel against its head and pulling the trigger, not grasping the concept that a needle traveling at 250 plus FPS is more than capable of passing through an inch of stuffing and into the hand I was inexplicably holding it with. I wish we could pin the posts that make us laugh the most. Thanks, smile. I am not a writer, but I spent a lot of time on this trying to tell the whole story and convey how funny it is to me in hindsight. I'm glad you liked it. Some valuable gun safety you learned there. Kids are fucking stupid. I wasn't the sharpest needle in the pin cushion. I had to read the title about 3 times before I read the word beanie and calmed down. For a short moment I was very confused as to why anyone would describe the speed of an object in frames per second. Makes about as much sense as any other American measurement. Today I fucked up by calling my girlfriend fat. As the title says. Today, me 19M and my girlfriend 19F talked a little bit, and I started to give her some compliments. She's got of trouble going on, so I cheer her up that way. Started with stuff like "you're so cute." Then I wanted to tell her that I like how she looks. She's kinda chubby and I love that. She strongly believes she's extremely overweight and barely eats because of that. So, smart as I am, I said, "There's so much on you to cuddle, I love you." I swear, the air around me froze. Her eyes got angry as hell and I realized what the ever-loving fuck I just said. Death was just around the corner, waiting that my girlfriend rips my head off. She didn't. She started crying and I felt horrible, and I still do. I said that I'm sorry about 1,000 times, but she's angry as hell. I swear this sounded way cuter in my head than it actually did. Too long didn't read. I called my girlfriend fat while trying to cheer her up, and I'm a horrible man. My girl is thick, and I love it. But you gotta think before you say something, my man. I tried, and I really thought shit was fine and cute and wholesome, and I survived. I had an ex who wrote something similar in a Christmas card. At least you realized your mistake right away. He had plenty of time to change it and thought it was fine. He called you fat in a Christmas card? I'm really glad he's your ex. Advice from someone who used to be that insecure. Be specific. I love your ass and your skin is so smooth, you always smell so good, your voice is so soothing. As long as you're specific, she won't be forced to think about the sum of her parts, i.e. a number on the scale. Aside from that, it sounds like she has some body image issues. Therapy could help with that. You probably need therapy too, just like, statistically. Exactly. Like I tell my girl she got a fat ass and she loves it. But you gotta be specific. Can't be going around being like, baby you fat as hell, I love that. Today I fucked up by ghosting before a date. Obligatory. This happened last week. A month ago I matched with a woman online, let's call her Sarah. She obviously had other options and kept me on the back burner the first couple weeks. Nothing wrong with that, I've done it too. After a few sorry I just read that, etc. texts, I took my shot and suggested a casual date in the park. Response times went from roughly a few days to just a few minutes. We planned for an evening later in the week and I left it at that. In the days leading up to the date, someone better for me came up. Let's call her Julia. The day before my date with Sarah, Julia called and invited herself over to my place the following night for drinks. Because Sarah didn't seem all that interested early on and since I hadn't heard from her since we booked the date, I thought it was okay to unmatch her before and spare myself the awkward "I'm not interested in you anymore" talk. I've been stood up somewhere between 20 to 30 times in the last few years, not including the ones who just unmatch or ghost before the date. I thought it happens all to me all the time, why should I worry about doing it? Wrong. I instantly felt like shit. That feeling changed my mind about the women who did that to me. They were jerks and now I was one of them. Night of, I was pulling into my driveway. I saw my neighbor, who moved in at the start of the month, walking out towards her car. I hadn't met her yet and I figured I'd introduce myself. As I got out, we made eye contact. She recognized me. It was Sarah and the look on her face could only be described as disgust. I panicked and started nervously laughing like a lunatic before running into my house, because that's the worst possible way to handle the situation. Before Julia got to my place, I left a bottle of wine on Sarah's porch with an apology note as a peace offering. I really wish I would have taken the 2 minutes to have that awkward talk, because this is 1000% worse. TL/Doctor, I ghosted a girl before a date and it turns out she's my new neighbor. Lessons were learned. I was online dating years ago and went on a date with a girl who was nice but for various reasons I didn't think was that interested. I shrugged it off and contacted another girl. The first girl immediately contacted me again to ask WTF. Second girl was the first girl's friend and flatmate and they were obviously sharing notes. I would call this a meet ugly cute moment. Best case scenario, you become casual hangout neighbor friends. She'll return the bottle of wine. You'll ask her why. She replies, "Do I have to explain?" You guys stare at each other and start kissing. You invite her to go inside. She accepts. You know what happens next. Your life became a movie. TBH, this is still less awkward than finding out on date 3 she's your neighbor. Imagine how creepy it could have been for Sarah if they did go on the date, but in separate cars. She would have though up was following her home lol. Rom-com level coincidence. Next week you'll bump into her in the grocery store and she'll drop something. You'll go to pick it up and you'll have a moment. Basically you'll be married next year.